Well, here we are again, folks. Another video, another day. Going to talk about something called Red Dawn. The question is, are we facing a Red Dawn in the US of A? I don't know if you have caught wind of the stuff that's going on in Aurora, Colorado, but Aurora, Colorado is not the only place. There are a lot of controversial discrepancies that are being discussed in the matter. We're going to take a look at that, go over that for just a moment, and then discuss some other thoughts as far as connecting some dots and answering the question, are we in a Red Dawn? So first of all, I don't know if all you really have to do is Google Aurora, Colorado, and you come up with things like this article from the Denverette. Aurora won't close more apartments allegedly affected by Venezuela gangs yet. After calling for closures, Mayor Mike Kaufman, I guess, has reported changed course. Yeah, of course he's changed course. That's one of the things I want to talk to you about. He has changed course, all right, because at first he was acknowledging wholeheartedly on Facebook and everywhere else what exactly was going on. And suddenly he wants to shift gears and say that nothing is going on. So that's kind of suspect if you ask me. But we're going to take a look at these things. Let's continue on for just a moment. This article says last week, Mayor Kaufman urged the city to shut down the apartments and that have made national headline over allegedly Venezuela gang takeover. And he strongly believes that the best course of action is to shut down these buildings and make sure that this never happens again. Well, what exactly is the allegations? Well, the allegations are, and what has been running rampant throughout the circles in the past week, is that these Venezuelan gangs are made up of illegal immigrants. And see, that's the problem. They don't want to admit the failure, well, should I say the success of allowing illegal immigration into this country because they don't want to acknowledge that they're illegal. Now, I've showed that from the White House down to the local houses and the local departments and the local this and that those who want this do not recognize illegal immigration because they do not recognize sovereign national borders. And if you don't have a border, there's nothing illegal. They're just immigrants. This is what we're looking at. I'm just throwing that out there while we get into this. You keep that in the back of your hat. If you don't believe me, you go straight to the UN website, go to the WEF website, and you take a look at the pillars of societal change, and they will spell it out for you. It's the same rhetoric that we heard in this country when it come down to the big C word through the CDC, the FDA, the DHS, and the WHGOV. And also the science and the medical fields. They're all towing the line of no borders. That means no sovereignty. That means homogenization of central global government. But anyways, that's where all this stuff drives to. It goes right down to this local level. And I've shown you that. And it's been doing that, for 20 years now. This is nothing new. But in any case, this mayor keeps shifting his thoughts. But let's take a look at some of what is being said here. Okay, that's enough for that clip. I want you to take note of what language is being spoken, what language is not being spoken, what are in their hands, and exactly where are they. What in the world are they doing? Now let's take a listen to this clip.
Now, Cindy Romero. Cindy, thank you for joining us. Now, the video was shocking. The sheriff's down.
So, Cindy Romero, what kind of a ethnicity would that name be? I'm not saying this in a degrading way. I've got a point.
Downplaying, saying, well, they haven't really taken over they're there, but they haven't really taken over the apartment complex. But this wasn't the worst of what you experienced. Tell us about it.
Now, the guns and the gunshots, the street full of violence, there were just so many calibers and so many different kinds of weapons. They found bullets all down the street, bullet holes through my cars, bullet holes in my husband's car. But it was steadily torture. It wasn't just one night. It wasn't one shooting. It wasn't one occurrence. It was a concentrated effort to run the leaseholders out of the building.
Because the policies are favoring the migrants now and dismissing the concerns of native-born or legal immigrants?
Oh, yeah. They weren't even answering my calls. I'd get calls back from the police hours later talking about, I'm sorry, we're not coming. It had to be a crime like this to get them to put boots on the ground and do something.
I mean, I know Aurora pretty well. I have friends that live nearby in Littleton. I mean, that's just a safe community. It's a wonderful place to raise kids. I mean, what was it like 5 years ago?
I love
compared
Aurora.
to today?
Yeah, my husband's from Colorado, so we love this area. I moved my children to this area, encouraged them to come here, just to know that they're by themselves. There's no programs that cover us. We're just working Americans that pay our taxes. You know, there's just no setup for people displaced by immigrants.
Colorado's got to wake up. It's destroying this state, illegal immigration, destroying it. Your message to the police chief who said technically they haven't taken over the apartment buildings. They live in the area, in the community, but they haven't taken them over, that's all just media hype. Your response to him tonight, quickly.
I have two questions. Where are the leaseholders? Because there are none. And who changed the locks on that building? It wasn't the management.
Wow. Cindy, I am so sorry that you had to go through this. Everyone watching, every voter watching in Colorado, take note. This is coming to a community near you. Cindy, thank you.
Okay. So, I don't know, guys. That didn't sound to me like that was a whole lot of conspiracy, given the questions I asked on that clip to their left. What was the language spoken? What was the language not spoken? What is in their hands? Where are they and what are they doing? Okay. We ain't done yet. Aurora Police Chief says there's no evidence. Bullet holes aren't evidence. Lead and brass on the streets aren't evidence. Blink door cams is not evidence. Changing the locks is not evidence. And no more leaseholders is not evidence. I'm going to make some comments about law enforcement in this video. And you may not like it, but you need to pay attention to what I'm going to say. Then they rally a group of what looks like a very moderately populated Biden convention, because normally he only has like 3 or 4 people when he was out canvassing for votes. And they say this isn't going on. But where do these people come from? And then you've got other news outlets saying the same thing. The Denverette dug into what the facts are and what the fiction is and what we still don't know. A handful of rundown apartment buildings in Venezuela gang have become a focal point in the United States immigration debate. No kidding. That's key. That's key. Remember what I already told you. Immigration debate. That's key. And they're going to gaslight you into oblivion if you don't pay attention. Several city and law enforcement officials say the gang's presence and influence in the city is smaller than what national news outlets and some politicians have claimed. Some politicians. I'll tell you who the politician is. The politician is that Councilwoman Danielle something or other. I'm hoping that I can pull the tab up with her on it, because she ain't blowing smoke either. Those allegations that many residents and some officials have pushed back on. However, Aurora police acknowledged recently that they have received complaints of stolen rent at 3 affected apartment complexes, police said when. So the one that we're looking at now is an apartment complex of about 8 to 10 buildings. So if there's 3 apartment complexes, and now that they are acknowledging that, but then they're not acknowledging other things, what in the world is going on? In recent weeks, rumors surrounding the gangs have gone viral on social media. Some news outlets have published sensational headlines after a video of armed men at an apartment Aurora was widely shared. Then there's this one from the New York Post. Brutal Venezuelan gang violence spills into quiet suburb from the sanctuary city next door. That's key. Sanctuary city. Immigration. Those 2 things can go hand in hand, particularly when we're talking about criminal activity. I wish this thing would quit running up and down on me. There are countless others. In response, some have called for mass deportation and violence against new immigrants in the Denver metro. Elected officials and political candidates have even accused the leaders of Aurora and Denver of cover-up and blaming Denver's immigration policy for what is happening. No duh. Meanwhile, many residents of the apartment building in question are receiving death threats and fear for their safety, not from the Venezuelan gang, but from would-be vigilantes who are threatening the residents with violence. And that is a joke. A stew of hot takes, hyperbole, conflicting statements from officials, anonymous sources, racist speech, and political campaigns have defined the conversation. I don't know about that, but I can tell you what has defined the conversation. I call it the John Kerry syndrome. It's called waffling. Now, when you look at the apartments, they do look run down. They do not look like they are in any great shape. No place I would live. Let's see what we got here. Probably another ad. Every time I go off the tab, it reloads and then it gives me these stupid
It's really important for Scripps News reporters reporting.
You get to talk to people from all different backgrounds.
We do stories with people regardless of the political persuasions.
We're coming here as people, as your neighbors. We know best what's happening in our communities.
And that's why I wake up every morning, is I hope I can deliver folks information so they can make an educated decision. I'm Forrest Saunders, Ben Brown, Jake Burns,
Rachel Louise, Just, Alex Miller, Scripps News.
Watch Scripps News, find with an antenna, or on your favorite streaming app.
Venezuelan gang activity in Aurora. This week, Aurora has been in the national spotlight as videos have been circulating on social media showing gang members taking over apartments. It's important to note the city nor the Aurora Police Department have confirmed any of those claims. Colorado and federal law enforcement
let's finish that real quick.
Does confirm that the transnational crime organization Tren de Aragua are operating in the Denver metro area. Denver said.
Okay. So I gotta find the chief of police. He had his own little spiel, and it was priceless. Okay, we got that one. But then, folks, we've got California and we've got Chicago to talk about because there's 32 gang members dealing with in Chicago. I'm trying to find that clip, and I'm running out of battery here. Where the chief of police started by saying, we are going to take care of this. We got to lock it down so that it never happens again. And then he does a complete flip saying that this is not what's going on. Governor Jared Polis gaslights on this gang takeover of Aurora, Colorado apartment buildings. Yeah, you think? Of course he is. He's gaslighting the snot out of it, and so is the chief of police. Cell phones and guns, and not English. I want to find the chief of police and I want to find that Danielle because those are two priceless clips. So here we see that the mayor of Colorado says they will clear the apartments troubled by Venezuela gangs. Flat out. Not that. That lady's lame. So where are you?
The council meeting as aldermen and residents keep clashing over how taxpayer money should be spent on migrants.
That's not it. Okay, this one's in Chicago. In any case, I just had it all lined up to Chicago. Let's go back this way. Aurora. Oh, I wish I could find it. I had several of them lined up. It's got to be it. I hate this when this does this to me. I got to find a better way to doing this. First Denver, now Chicago.
Unit 10-3, I'm citywide person with a gun, 6124 South King Drive. Caller says 32 Venezuelans are trespassing the building,
Chicago.
Showing guns in the courtyard, and they have motorcycles in the courtyard as well. All they're filled. Nothing further, zone clear.
Hey, I'm sorry, you headed over to the shot better to the 6124 on King for the migrants?
On King Drive.
Alright, 10-4. There's another available unit arrive at 310. We had multiple calls. First with the gun, 6124 South King. Also came over to disturbance large gathering. Could be 32 Venezuelans trespassing in the building property, showing guns in the courtyard. They have motorcycles in the coreway, all stairwells filled. And nothing further.
Unreal. First, they take over apartments in Denver, Colorado. Now, Chicago. Listen, I don't want to hear from anyone that genuinely thinks that having an open border is a good idea. I don't want to hear from those people, because you have a lot of American people now, specifically in.
Okay. Now, here's an article, and I just want you to see the picture here. Police chief says Colorado apartment is not being taken over by Venezuelan gang despite viral images. Despite viral images. Yeah, let's not look at the evidence. We're not going to mind the evidence. We're not going to care about the video, the images, the change locks, the bullets on the street coming up to this. The gang is not running a Colorado apartment complex, but then they talked about 3 apartment complexes. Now, which way is it? The Edge at Lowry Apartments in Aurora, Colorado has not been taken over. But then in other articles, it's called Willow Pond Apartments. So they're definitely 2 different apartments being overrun by gang members that they acknowledge at first and then did not acknowledge. Now we see cops going door to door. Well, if there's nothing going on, there's an image. But yet they'll acknowledge that these gangs they're operating, but this ain't going on. Then what in the world is it? So both Denver and Chicago are sanctuary cities. Okay? Keep that in the back of your hat. Chicago. There we go. So as of the 5th, I believe it is, this August 31st, the municipality of Aurora, Colorado, is taking action against Venezuela gang members. So 1 minute they're taking action against it, the next minute they are not acknowledging that there's even an issue. By declaring the apartments that they overtook this month as a criminal nuisance. So if there's no gang members, there's no illegal immigrant gang members, then why are you releasing this statement that they overtook him a month ago and that you're going to deal with it and they are a criminal nuisance? You're calling it a criminal nuisance, but yet you're not acknowledging. You can't do that. Following release of a viral video showing the armed gang members entering the apartment complex, Aurora Mayor announced Friday the officials are working to draft up emergency court order evictions. Okay, so here's the thing, guys. Well, I'm looking for the tab that I'm looking for before this tablet dies. You know, you can't, they're gaslighting. You can't have it both ways. You just can't. All right, let's listen to this real quick.
The now viral video reportedly shows members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, recorded on a camera by neighbors who have since moved out of the building.
They have shoved their way into apartments. They have changed locks on residents, locks to the units and locks to the exterior entrances in the building. They have been living in absolute terror.
In a Facebook post, the mayor of Aurora, Colorado says he's now working to clear the entire building, declaring the property a criminal nuisance, adding the best course of action is to shut the building down, as local police have also intervened.
We're out here, we want to reassure the people that live in this community that we are actively investigating criminal activity that's happening and listening to them so that we can learn anything that we're missing.
As local leaders debate the best course of action in this small Denver suburb, other cities are also dealing with the large influx of migrants who have come to the border in the last few years. Though the numbers have dramatically dropped in the last few months, local issues have seeped into national politics, with changing positions from the Democratic presidential nominee.
Americans across the board want to have a secure border. Kamala Harris will work to deliver on that and secure the border.
Tren de Aragua, also known to have a presence in cities like New York and Chicago, with concerns mounting about the gang members themselves.
I used to supervise an MS-13 gang task force when I was with the FBI. I think you can make the argument that what we're seeing with the Venezuela gang is actually worse than MS-13.
There has been an increased spotlight on crimes committed by migrants as we get closer to the November election, as Congress appears to have given up on passing any new laws dealing with immigration or the border. In Washington, I'm Christine Frizzau.
How interesting is that? Again, flip-flop, flip-flop, flip-flop. Here we go. This is priceless. And then I'm going to get into this myself.
If you give a child a book, new worlds are discovered and dreams take flight. Every dollar you donate helps provide a book for a child who really needs it. Go to denver7.com/giveabook to see how you can help.
I don't know what anybody's talking about, but I don't see any criminals here. I think we all know who the real criminals here are.
The reality is that there have been some violent incidents at the property that we're fully aware of.
They're trying to say that here there's delinquents, that here there's criminals, here there's moms, there's families, there's fathers, there's families.
There has been mixed messaging in the last few days about claims of a Venezuelan gang taking over an Aurora apartment complex. Well, tonight we're hearing directly from the people who live there and from Mayor Mike Kaufman. I'm glad you're with us tonight. I'm Shannon Ogden.
And I'm Jessica Crawford. We'll hear more from Mayor Kaufman in just a moment, but first, let's go back to how we got to this point.
You've likely seen this video. It surfaced over the weekend, making national headlines and causing panic. But despite our best efforts to get answers, not much context surrounding it.
A Facebook post by Mayor Mike Kaufman perhaps added to the panic when the mayor called for an emergency court order to clear the apartment buildings of Venezuelan gang activity, declaring the properties a criminal nuisance. And Aurora police then posted that a special task force was working in collaboration with state, local, and federal partners to address the gangs.
Meanwhile, a different message from Aurora city officials proclaiming Aurora is a safe place to live, work, and visit. Then, as recently as yesterday, Aurora police saying they didn't find anyone with an outstanding warrant or any other criminal activity while canvassing the apartment complex.
The mayor of Aurora says that he wants to get this under control, but in a one-on-one with Denver 7, he stopped short of saying that Venezuelan gangsters have taken control of apartment complexes.
Denver 7's Colette Bordelon spoke with the mayor today and tells us what he thinks is a problem for those people in those buildings.
Aurora is at the center of a national conversation.
I would ask people not to take a broad brush about our city.
Specifically 3 apartment complexes where people are coming to see for themselves. After a viral video showing armed men at a complex off of Dallas Street led to questions without clear answers.
I think it's an out-of-state slumlord and hasn't maintained the properties.
Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman sat down with us on Tuesday to address allegations that apartment complexes in Aurora have been taken over by the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, or TDA.
The reality is that there have been some violent incidents at the property that we're fully aware of.
Have you been able to confirm any Tren de Aragua activity within those complexes?
I think the view is kind of mixed on that. Quite frankly, that part is not relevant to me. Now, the DEA has confirmed to me.
Not relevant. Let me tell you why. Because, like I said, this is hitting on immigration issues and sanctuary city issues, and he is being forced to backpedal. Now, the police come out, and they said that they were locking down the place, and now all of a sudden, there's nothing to it. And we're dealing with the same thing in Chicago. And, oh, come on, get out of my face. Here, in this particular article, you see that this is a different complex, Whispering Pines complex. So there is that particular place as well. The former U.S. attorney is involved in it. That blonde-haired lady that you saw on the one clip is a councilman member of Aurora, and she is flat out saying that this is what's going on, and they are trying to shut her up. So this is where I'm going to come in. Okay, there's different aspects of this. Number one is, I told you about the borders. I told you about the lack of acknowledging borders and the fact that they will no longer, you didn't hear them say illegal immigrations. You said immigrants. They won't call them illegals. That tells you right there that those people are gaslighting you because they're a part of the problem. They do not recognize the United States of America as a sovereign country. As per the UN's pillars of societal change for global governance, they do not recognize the U.S. as a sovereign country. Furthermore, Denver and its outskirts are in fact a sanctuary city for criminals and for illegal immigrants, as is Chicago and New York. And so they cannot acknowledge that they have grossly violated the Constitution of the United States and become traitors as to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that if our borders are violated, that dictates a national emergency of military proportion. If you don't believe me, you just check out Executive Order 13603 that has been signed since Roosevelt and dictates what the government can and cannot do in a state of emergency as per an invasion. Folks, we are looking at treasonous activity here at the leadership level when it comes to illegal gangsters running into our cities. Now, they waffled on the situation. They waffled on the truth. They said one thing at the beginning, and then they backtracked and said another because somebody gave them a phone call. And here's the thing, and this is what I want to tell you, you law enforcement officials and civilians. If you want to be respected, quit lying to our face. Work with integrity if you're going to wear the badge. You don't get to lie to us. If your car says "In God We Trust" and it says to serve and protect, number one, the word protect is a misnomer because we are, by constitutional authority, we are to be able to protect ourselves, and you come and clean up the mess. Number one. Number two, if you do protect, it's to protect the citizens of your community and your country. You took the same oath I did to defend the country, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And this smacks against that. And we have had traitors allow illegal immigrants to come into this country and to violate our borders. And that is in direct violation of the Constitution. And anybody who pushes that is a traitor. I don't care what you think. And the reason I don't care is because you haven't read the Constitution. And if you have taken the oath, then you better know what it stands for. Now, I understand that being a law enforcement officer is a difficult position because you're in between a rock and a hard place. I get that. So, for us as citizens, we need to respect the officers that we encounter until they give us reason that they are unconstitutional. We pay them to do a job. We should work with them to do the job. And if you as an officer cannot do that, then you got no business expecting anything from us. And I've got plenty of friends and family in law enforcement, trust me. And most of them would agree with me. You got serve on the side of your cruiser? Who in the world are you serving? Your own pocketbook? I mean, yeah, you need to be paid. But is that all you care about? Your family? You definitely need to care about your family because the country is made up of your family. But we have families too. And I'm going to tell you right now, I will protect mine. I don't care who it is. Protect. You got protect on the side of your cruiser? Who are you protecting? You protecting your boss? I mean, his image? You're protecting the people? But yet, when they protect themselves, somebody's going to jail. Guess who it's going to be? 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the dude that is protecting himself. And that's wrong. Furthermore, I challenge you on the law. I've been in the position. Most law enforcement officers do not know the law. And most of them will agree, that I know will agree. And if you arrest somebody, you got to come up with a real simple thing that you know about. You're going to haul them in, and then you're going to look at 2 and 3 stacks of book about this thick to try to figure out something that you're going to pin on them. Tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. So how do you purport to enforce laws that you don't even know exist? And then expect people to respect you. And I get it. You respect the uniform. You respect the badge. I get it. Been there, done that. Not at your position, but at a military position. So I get that. But I'm going to say the same thing to the military. If you've taken the same oath I have, and you come on our streets to harass our citizens instead of controlling that border and protecting that border and standing for the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, I don't even want to talk to you. You're a part of the problem. And there's plenty of high brass in that category up on the hill. Bunch of spineless for takes weasels. You just waiting for all us old guys to die off. That's all it is. Now, let me tell you something. When you have as many specifics in these situations as we are looking at, there's something to the reports. And when these people gaslight you, don't believe a word of it. So again, politicians and law enforcement, you keep doing this crap, how do you expect us to believe you? As far as I'm concerned, you're a leech in society. You're worse than welfare. It's sick. Now, if citizens go in there and clean that place up, you got nothing to say. You need to stand down and get out of the way because you're a bunch of wusses. Unreal. Or maybe you're not wuss. Maybe you're just a communist. Kind of looks that way to me. Of course, 50% of the people on our streets today are communists. So it kind of stands to reason. And if I'm right, then y'all going to get what you asked for. Now, are we facing a red dawn? If you stop and take a look at the dots, going back in history, and you have trainloads and trainloads of weapons going missing. At the same time, our illustrious imposter-in-chief, who was elected but did not function as a constitutional, that is, swearing to uphold the Constitution, did not, by running drugs with Holder and Reed down into the cartel, down into these gangs, so they could come back and do what they're doing. Along with elements in the Alpha Tango Foxtrot. The same time they run guns into New York, guns into Chicago, into the Bloods, the Kurds, the MS-13s, the Zetas, and whoever else they could pass off guns to. And there are two theories to that. Number one is you let the gangs fight amongst themselves, they wipe each other out, and then you come in and you clean up the mess. There's that. And now we're looking at this. So now we're adding this to the theory. And my sources say that are there in Denver that it's worse than what anybody's telling us. If that's the case, and I believe my people over I believe these lying thieves and these communist pukes and these traitors, if that's the case, and I do believe my people before I believe anybody. And my people also said they talked to somebody going down to South America to pay these people to come up here in the train loads and in the airplanes that we have been witnessing since Obama's been in. Then you tell me why it's not a red dawn. And you tell me why it's not of military proportion. When we can't even acknowledge our own sovereignty and uphold our own borders. And then we get gaslit at the local level. So the theory is you let the gangs wipe themselves out and then you just clean up the mess and life goes on as usual, which never, ever happens. Or, and listen very, very carefully, people. Listen very, very, very carefully. I said these infiltrators and these traitors and these communist pukes are waiting for us old guys to die off because they know we know how to stand. They know we have a backbone. And as many people buy stuff on credit cards, and as many people buy stuff legally with paperwork behind it, they know what we as American people have in general, not specific. Which is why the U.S. Postal Service has gathered up ammo, why the IRS has gathered up ammo and added a whole bunch of tactical teams, and the list goes on. They know what we have, but if they plan on pulling the trigger on a collapse and a takeover of momentous proportion, they don't want to face the average American person in a numerical number more than 3%. Because they know historically that 3% of backbones is very, very powerful. And if that's the case, and they know what a lot of Americans have, then they run these guns and they're allowing these immigrants, illegal immigrants, to come in so that we get fed up to the point where we're going to do something. And they have tried to push us to that point at least 8 times in the last 15 years. And either we don't have a backbone or we're very, very patient and disciplined. And they're going to keep pushing the buttons until we say enough. But they're counting on us to divide on these issues. And they're counting on us to expend and expel our ammo, our resources, our energy in every direction except for them. And then when they bring the sledgehammer down, there will be nothing left to stand your ground with. And that's what I've been saying since 2010. And I'm holding to it. Y'all better wise up. You better wake up. That's what's going on. And I haven't even told you the half of it. You better wake up. You can roll your eyes at me all day long, but when they're facing you, everything I'm telling you will come back to your mind. Didn't even talk about the Chinese buying up land around our military bases. Didn't even talk about major foreign players being allowed and ushered into our top secret equipment. Didn't even talk about it. Didn't even talk about the intrastate quick response teams that are half Russian. Haven't even talked about it because they know English better than we do, and that nobody knows who they are. 2013, May was a good date to pin that one on. People better wake up and get ready. You better decide now who you are, where your allegiances lie, who you're going to put your trust in. And I'm not talking a man. Make a choice. I've come to the realization that no matter what you're shown, no matter what I say, if you don't want to believe it, you're not going to believe it. I don't confuse you with the facts. I already know that. And I would say most of my, I don't know, what do you want to call them? People I grew up with, not all. Many of them just don't want to hear it. You don't have the stomach for it. Well, you're going to have the stomach for it at some point, and it's not going to be good. I'm going to tell you something else. My grandfather came here from Germany to escape Hitler. I stood on the DMZ of Korea, North Korea, many times. I've got friends who have. I'm still in contact with them. We know what it looks like. We can smell this stuff a mile away. So if you are going to roll your eyes at me and you haven't been there, you literally don't. Your opinion is completely useless because you don't know. And you don't care to know. And willful ignorance is not bliss. I'll tell you right now, there's no excuse for it. But I've been eyeball to eyeball with communists. Literally. Centimeters. I know what it feels like to be in their territory. I know what it feels like to be in their presence. I know what it feels like to stand in front of them, face to face, nose to nose, and toes to toes. I know what it feels like to stand next to them. I know what it feels like to take their photograph. I know what it feels like to think we're under attack, be sure we're under attack within close proximity. I've been there. And I've got friends who've been there. Don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. Little old me who ain't much of anything. But I do know what I'm talking about. What I don't know, I don't know. But what I do know, I do know. You better wake up and you better be thinking this stuff through. If you're still with me, see if this will work. Nope. If you're still with me, I appreciate that. And I just ask that you like and subscribe. Tell your friends and family about what I'm doing here. I've got other channels on business, photography, video, other channels on Bible study, and another channel that I got to get cranking. But as well as the fact that I do have my landscape photographs on products coffee mugs, cell phone holders, cutting boards for the kitchen, and puzzles and clocks and such. Take a look. Take a look. And I'll see you in the next video.